Now let's talk about the hour tracker. The hour tracker is where you'll keep track of remaining supervision, parent training, and assessment hours. These hours are calculated from what you entered in the client's information section. You're going to start by typing in a code word. The actual word does not matter. It could be anything, but it's essential that you don't leave this blank. This code word links this table to the other pages in the template, including the home dashboard and the summary. Next, you're going to select the client you're billing for from the drop-down menu. Choose the date and time of the session. You're going to select end date, and you're going to include time. So let's say that you supervise that client from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Next, you're going to select the category, whether it's supervision, parent training, assessment, or others. Let's say this is a supervision. The status column should stay as not rendered until you've billed the session. Once it's been billed, change it to rendered, and that will remove the entry from this table, but it will still show in the rendered tab over here. Before you select rendered, you do have to fill out the necessary information on this section. So you're going to re-enter the client's name in the category column. If you skip this step, the hours won't register correctly in the summaries. We put that the category is supervision, so we're only going to fill out the supervision billing category, not the parent training and not the assessments. So we're going to find the client's name once again. But you see that it just says client's ID. So let's click the I and see what the I says. Only enter the client's ID in this section if you're billing for supervision. And to view the client's actual ID, go to the supervision billing table below and retype the client's ID in the column labeled Retype Client's ID. So that is over here. We're going to click the arrow and we're going to find the column that says Retype Client's ID, which is here. The I says re-enter the client's ID here to link it to the supervision summary chart in the home page and the supervision billing in the hour tracker. This allows the remaining hours to transfer automatically. So we're literally just going to copy what these code names say and we're going to put it over here. So all I did was I copied what it said here and retyped it into this column. Now I can go back and find the client. So it's NTA444. And I'm only going to fill out this column because I'm only billing for supervision. Now let's do another one. And again, you can write anything in this column. It really does not matter, but it needs to be filled out. And then toggle these two items here. Say that this is parent training. We're going to go to parent training and the same thing is happening again. So let's see what the I says. Only enter the client's ID in this section if you're billing for parent training. And to view the client's actual ID, go to parent training billing table below and retype the client's ID in the column labeled Retype Client's ID. So let's go to where it says parent training billing and we're going to find the column that says Retype Client's ID, which is right here. So we're going to do it again. And again, the reason why we have to continue to retype the client's ID is so that we can link the tables to each other so that the calculation will automatically transfer from one chart to another. You will only have to retype the client's ID for each table once. So this is all part of the setup process. You have to make sure that you type it exactly how it is for the client ID because otherwise it could confuse you and then you might select the wrong client when you're billing. So now that we did that, we can go here and find the client. I just forgot which client we did. So KSU, look for KSU, it's right here. And when you type these names in, here it says that you worked for 2 hours. So you're going to go over here and it says you worked 2 hours. Now you have 0 hours left because you used all your hours for parent training. And then let's look at supervision. You worked for 2 hours, but NTA still has 1 hour left for supervision billing. Now let's do one for assessments. Remember, you have to toggle these items here so that it can register the hours correctly. The assessments, and we're going to go here, but oh no, we have to type in the client's ID again, but let's see what it says here so that we know exactly where we have to go. Only enter the client's ID in this section if you're billing for assessment. And to view the client's actual ID, go to the assessment summary table below and retype the client's ID in the column labeled Retype Client's ID. So we have to look for the table that says assessment summary, which is under assessment billing. And here it is. So there's 2 different columns here that says client's ID, but this is the one that says to retype it. So we're going to retype it here. 2, 3. So let's scroll back up to the top and let's see which client that we use. I do not see him here, but we can just add him. DHE right here. We are going to here, DHE 23, and we are going to put in his name here. And if you are doing assessments, now we have to enter the names down there. So here it says, to select the client in this chart, first enter their name in the retype client's ID section below in the reauth schedule chart, which is over here. So we have to type it in again. But it is difficult to see because it keeps blocking this view. So what you can do is press open and just get the information from here. 10, and then open again. 8, and last one, 9. Well, actually, we still have to include the DHE, just to remember his name, DHE 23, DHE 23, and see, DHE 23, his hours automatically populated over here. And we can now fill in these columns. Here it shows he has 6 hours left remaining for the number of hours to complete the assessment. And here it says that you have worked on his assessment for 2 hours. Now, we also want to set up this chart. And this chart needs to be modified every reauthorization period. Well, at least these 2 columns do, because the dates will always be changing. Now, there are 2 separate dates. Begin to prep. And here it says this is the date you plan to start prepping for the new treatment plan. You can also click Remind to set a reminder for when you like to begin. Now, work period is different. Click the end date toggle at the bottom of the calendar, then select both the start and end dates. This marks the time frame insurance has approved for you to work on the treatment plan. So, begin to prep is when you want to start prepping, not necessarily wanting to start billing. Work period is when you can begin to bill for the assessment, and this is the duration you have that insurance has given you to work on the assessment. So I know that some BCBAs, for example, like to begin to prep 30 days before they can start billing so that it's not all left to do for last minute. So let's say that I want to start prepping for this October 7th, but I can actually only work on this from October 7th to the 21st. So we have to press October 7th and date to the 21st. So it can give you a time frame. And then you're going to put in the assessment type once again, like you did before, from the client's information. In this column is the expiration date, not when it's due, but when the treatment plan expires. The status here, you can select from do not start, in progress, done. The reason why I put do not yet is because it can give you an indicator whether this is something that you need to start paying attention to, but you just haven't started, or if it's actually something that you should not be working on it at all. So these are the 2 differences between the 2. So not started is when you should begin to work on it, but you just have not had a chance to actually begin. Do not start yet is when the time frame is too early to even begin to prep. Now you might need to include a time unless you want to, but it's not necessary. And you can have either of these send you a reminder to when to start to begin to work on it. So you can do it by clicking remind, and you can select when you want it to remind you. And the color also changes to blue because that means that a reminder has been activated. It turns red if the reminder already passed. You can also select none to take out the reminder. Now we also need to look through the checklist on this page. There's a supervision checklist. Here you're going to need to add in the technician's name once again. This checklist is every single time that you supervised the technician with the client for week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. You just click it like this. Now you do have to reset at the beginning of each month, and the easiest way to do that is by unchecking the first box and then dragging it down so that it edits the thing, so you don't have to click every single box. We also have a parent training checklist. Anytime that you conduct a parent training, you're just going to check it off. Also, there's a column here where you can put in whether the parent training has been scheduled or whether it has not been scheduled. if you have sent out an invitation to request for it to be scheduled, or if you already completed the parent training. And as you just saw, it changed the order of the client's name because first it's going to present clients that the parent trainings already have occurred, then it's scheduled, then it's invitation, then not scheduled. So all the not scheduled are going to be at the bottom, invitation sent will be in the middle, and then scheduled and then completed, so that you know which ones already were done and which ones you need to actually send out an invitation and schedule those parent trainings. You will have to reset this table based on how you are keeping track of the hours. Let's say that you're keeping track of the hours on a weekly basis. So you're going to delete the sessions at the end of the week. You're going to go in here and click the ones you want to delete. Let's say that your last day of the week are Fridays. So after you're done with your last session on Friday and it has been rendered, you're just going to delete it. Now, for assessments, we usually have 2 weeks to work on assessments. So make sure you keep assessments on the rendered tab until the assessment is complete and fully built. So that means that when you are deleting weekly supervisions and parent trainings, the assessments stay there until you have submitted that treatment plan. So it might be easier to just go to where it says categories and you're just going to delete parent training and you're going to delete supervisions, but assessments still stay there. Oh, this one didn't go through because you're still working on this assessment. So you don't want it to reset to 0 because you still have 6 hours left to work on this assessment. But again, that all depends on how you're keeping track of these hours. So if you're keeping track of the hours on a monthly basis and they reset each month, then that means that you're not going to delete the entries until the end of the month. That's the hour tracker. Once you get the hang of it, this section keeps all of your hours accurate and connected across the caseload manager.